Good morning. It's Saturday. I actually haven't had any time to pick up the camera this week, so I'm going to do a bit of a recap for you on the huge wins we've had this week. Now, last week I was telling you all about our unit that we were looking to hire, a property, and we finally found it, getting ready to sign. And that's been a challenge on its own, because have you ever tried to get a property in a different country? Not the easiest thing to do when you're not there. So to get it in my name, I actually need to fly over to the Philippines and sign a contract in the same room as a lawyer. And I obviously can't get there right this week. There's just too many other priorities that we have going on. So we're trying to find a way around it. And I've suggested increasing their bond a bit higher and also guaranteeing them on a few other things. So we're just trying to see if we can get this contract over the line without me getting on a plane to the Philippines this week. And how are we going to get it ready? So then I've been looking, there's Officeworks in the Philippines, so we could go to Officeworks and fit it out. And there's also some other options, so I'm looking at that as well. But the great thing about this property is that we have 3 rooms, and we also have some space where we can put products. We can set up one of our rooms for like a photo shoot room where we potentially can get a lot of content creation, and the team can get really busy over there doing that, which would be fabulous. So it's really exciting. It's such like a milestone, I suppose, opening our first office over there. And then next year we have a plan that we built into our business plan, or our budget for the year, where we're going to have a location where we bring our whole team together. So that's in the Philippines and Australia. So now that we're going to have an office in the Philippines, it looks like the first meetup might be in the Philippines, which would be really cool, that I can bring my Australian team members over to the Philippines and we can all be together for a conference as a 3-day kind of strategy for the year, which is again another huge milestone for us. When I think back to when I started SynxBody, it was just me and my partner at the time, just doing everything ourselves, and then slowly hiring an assistant and then hiring different people. And now, we're hiring more people. It looks like we're going to hire probably another person in the Philippines, which will make it 9, and another person in Australia too, which will make it 10. So we're going to a team of 10 pretty much in a week. And then I predict over the next 12 months, we'll most likely double our team. So that's exciting, and I'll definitely report back on that next year. Another exciting thing that happened this week is our electric foot polisher, which we launched this year in Australia. I was so excited as a podiatrist to launch a product that was so good at removing hard skin and callus. Like, it really took a long time of back and forth to get that product right. But even after we finalized it, I wanted to keep testing how we could make it more powerful, but also maintaining the battery strength. Because one of the issues is with a rechargeable, as soon as you increase the motor, so make it go faster or make it stronger, then potentially the battery won't last as long, and it could potentially fail before the time frame because it's not been tested. So we had to go through a lot of rigorous testing, and this is my next stage of testing. So even though we've marketed the product and we've brought it to market, I'm still finding different ways of how we can refine it and improve it, make it faster, make it better, but still keep the battery quality. So today I have received the next lot of products, which is super exciting. And I'm going to open it on here so we can actually see speed difference. Okay, so bear with me here, guys. Okay, if you haven't seen our polisher, oh my god, it is so cool. On our current one, I'm really happy with it. I really quite like it. But it is also good to look at how can we increase the speed and make it faster. Okay. I've got some more products to look at too, some more exciting things that might be coming on the market soon. I'm going to test these out because as a podiatrist, we use a lot of these drill pieces in the clinics, and we're trying to find ways that we can bring some of these pieces as a collection into our range so that we can potentially use it on our foot file, which is really cool. At the moment, definitely seems this one I think is an original. Bear with me. Okay, so let me show you what I'm looking for. So what we got is our original, which goes up to 6 speeds. And what I'm now testing is if I increase the motor speed and make it faster, you can see just that little bit faster there, you can see it spinning. what will that be like? So this is our test now to make sure we can get the battery quality right. And you can see how a lot of this testing can take even 6 to 12 months before a product comes to market, because it takes time to test the quality, to make sure that the batteries last. And I think it's so important as a product developer that we ensure we go through the right steps. So every product that we release to market, we've tested, we've trialed, we've checked for everything so that our customers are satisfied, which I think is so important. But we're also really big on feedback. Like, we love our customers giving us feedback too, because that's how we improve and change. So some other things that happened this week is we had another team strategy meeting and came up with some of the biggest problems and challenges that we can foresee over the next 6 to 12 months. And I think for any business, it's so important that you look for problems, potential problems, rather than wait for them to like show up, because the bigger your business gets, the more successful you are, the bigger your problems. And the thing is, you can't be afraid of problems, because as an entrepreneur, every day is looking and sorting problems out. That's basically what business is. So I'm not afraid of problems. And in fact, I challenge my team all the time. Look for the things that are going to keep you awake at night in 6 months. You know, look for that. So if we all of a sudden blew up and started making more products and sold more products and we were doing a lot better, what are the things, the constraints that are going to really keep you awake at night? And that might be a process of how we order stock, or it might be, what if we ran out of stock and didn't have any? That's going to be a problem. So we look for all these problems, and then as a team, we discuss ways that we can fix and solve those challenges. So we definitely started on that this week, and we're looking at, our big thing is email flows at the moment. So what came up in our team meeting this week was about email flows, and we were talking about the fact that so many people get CC'd on emails that they probably shouldn't be CC'd on, and it's clogging their inbox. And therefore they're missing probably some of the more crucial and important emails because of this, overload of information that they probably don't need. So that's definitely a pathway problem that we need to figure out, who are the people that need to get these emails, and then, where should it change and when should those people be brought in, and like map it out. And that's what we're doing at the moment. Because even my email box, I'm actually guilty in the fact that I still look at all the email boxes in my company. So I have my own email box. Then I have access to our admin, our sales, our info, and I have them all on my phone, and I have them all on my computer. And I'm not always going through them, but I have an eyeball on it. And it helps me understand, kind of what's happening across the business, and allows me to pick up problems, I guess, before they happen, or challenges. But then it also can be very time consuming. So you have to be very careful. And the other thing I realized early on is that if you're the best way to like manage your inbox is to deal with it in the moment. So you want to read the email, deflect, defer, delete, save it, action it, do whatever you got to do in that moment, so you don't need to come back to it. And that's definitely really helpful for me. But then when there's a lot of email boxes on, it can get challenging, because you're like, I saw that, oh, I need to mention this to the other team, or I need to do this, I need to ask how they're going with that. So I tend to have like a bit of a note section, and I just write comments down, and then when I get on a team meeting, I'll bring it up. But that's definitely like a challenge of mine too, with having so many emails. And I'm sure anyone has this problem too, right? Because even in your Gmail, like think of your personal email, like it just doesn't end at work. We've got all these other emails as well, like clogging up our inboxes. So that's kind of our focus at the moment, is looking at how can we improve those flows and get things better. We also have noticed that we use OneDrive to save all our folders, and all of our folders in OneDrive is like, it's been very well organized, but the problem is if it's not maintained, it can fall apart. And we're also noticing that everybody in the team files documents differently. And so we're doing a major overhaul. Thank goodness this is not my job and I'm not part of this, but Brock and Kim are doing a major overhaul of all the operational stuff, and like how all the systems and folders are working, and how might we be able to do it in a better way where we can find things. Because at the moment you go on there and it's like a folder within a folder within a folder within a folder. You've had to open 10 things just to get to the one thing that you needed. And the challenge with this is, when you have big teams, is it's not always easy, because everyone's brain works differently. If you and I went to the shop and we were both given a brand new computer, we'd take it home, and then, within a week, it would look completely different on each screen, because the way that we save and process information is so different. And it's very much like that in business. So you need good processes and systems, and you need someone responsible for it. So we know that moving towards that's going to be game changing for us. So again, we're looking at, if we're busier, if we've got more team members, how can we like streamline everything and make it a lot more operational? And we're also going to move over to Monday. That's our big thing. Nikita is working on that, having Monday and setting all that up, because Monday can be really, really good for arranging a lot of, you know, tasks and operations, and then we can assign different things to people and getting the workflow right. Because it's really important. That's, again, another challenge that we've noticed is, you know, everything's rolling around. We've got all these conferences going on, but then the right people aren't getting sent the right actionable steps in the right order to meet the deadline. And it's just a flow problem, which is what most businesses have this issue, in that they'll have all these things they need to do, but they don't workflow it out and direct it to the right people and make sure the right processes are in place. Then it can be really, really challenging. So for a Saturday, what did I get up to today? I went to Pilates, did Pilates in the morning, which was good. And then basically just did some organizing. I find, like, even Saturdays, sometimes I still need to go into my office and do some arranging and sorting to make sure I'm organized for the week. And now I'm going to actually start some food prep. So another big change that I did most recently this year was I decided that I would love to be more organized with food and make sure that I, you know, do proper food prep, order my food, cook on the weekends. So Sundays are really like getting ready for the week, getting the meals sorted so that I'm eating more nutritious food. Because another problem that tends to happen when we're not organized is that we tend to like drop out of these good habits with eating. And I, like everybody else, am very guilty of that. So I definitely try and do that on a Sunday. And then I always like to pre-plan for the week starting again. And we're coming into what is going to be another really busy week at SynxBody. We have a photo shoot this week, and that's always massive, where we're planning, curating what content we're going to talk about, and then getting outfits ready and products ready and everything. And I do that. Usually we hire a house or a studio location. So we have a studio location this week. Then I'm also hiring another staff member. So I'm going to officially offer this person the role tomorrow. So that's exciting. That's another team member in Australia. So I am really, really big on visual goals and having something where when it's in your line of sight. And I'm really big on feng shui. And I know that for my office, the way that it's set up is that this section over here, let me show it to you, is a very good feng shui area, right? So obviously right next to this corner of my office, at the top here. So what I do is I put the logos that I'm focusing on right there. So it can be anything. It could be your dream holiday, it could be a car, it could be anything that you want to achieve. Put it in your corner. And then what's going to happen is two things, right? So visually, you're going to look at it every day. So you're going to see it. So it's going to be in your front focus. Then it will jog your memory to do something about it. So for me, it might be sending a package, following up an email, asking someone to help me with something towards those goals. So these things take time. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. And if I think of all my big wins, they were years in the making, and you have to be prepared to go to the distance. That is the difference between people who get the deals, get the success, and those that don't, is that they don't give up easily. They keep going back. So keeping you focused on what you want to achieve, like even Priceline has been there for 12 months. I've been working on that thing for 12 months. I'm still not there yet. But I will be there, and I will stand here one day when we're in Priceline and be like, that was a journey. Like, we worked on that. We met with them. We focused on what we wanted, put good vibes and energy out there, and then also had it in my direct vision, which I think is really, really important. And I highly recommend you do that with anything in your life. Like I said, anything you want to manifest or focus on, put it in an area where you can see it. Another thing that has really helped me, and I had a meeting yesterday. I forgot to tell you about this one. I had a meeting yesterday with a buyer that I had been wanting to meet with again for about 8 years. I've been trying with this particular buyer for a long time, and I couldn't get in. But when I finally got my moment with her, it wasn't about, I want to be in your pharmacy and please, this is what I want. I really put the pressure off and was like, you know, thank you for this meeting. It's about getting to know you. I want to know what you need as a business. What are you looking for? What does your business need? And what do you think would be a great partnership? So you're asking them for information for them to feed back to you. And it's not just about you promoting or pushing your brand, because that can feel really, really sales focused. And yes, you want to talk about yourself, but it should come naturally. And I don't push my buyers. So I'd rather work on the relationship and get to know them and work on them than try and like really push our brand in, because I don't feel like that's the best outcome. But we had a really, really good meeting, and I hope that we will see us soon in this banner. It's one that I've wanted for a really, really long time. And I just thought I'd say that to kind of remind you guys that not everything comes easily. You have to work at it, and don't be disappointed when you don't get the result that you're after. Come at it from a different angle, a different way, and figure it out. Because if your brain knows that you're going to get it no matter what, it'll find another way to get it. Okay, you've just got to like keep telling yourself like it'll happen next time, or this is what I'm going to do differently. So that was my other takeaway. And finally, what I'm also doing today is I'm rereading How Brands Grow. Now, I don't know if you've ever read this book before. It's by Byron Sharp. It's a great book, and it's what marketers don't know, and it really dives into like some really basic things about scaling your business, marketing, building brands. And even though it's an old book, it still holds so much true information. And when I first read it a couple of years ago, I got a lot out of it, and I thought it was time to reread it, because often when we're reading books, we only take so much in that's relevant at the time. And then later, like your growth changes, something else happens. And then I'll reread books because I have so many books. In fact, let me show you my book collection. This is nowhere near like how much I have, but I'm like obsessed with books. I feel like books are, you know, especially really, really good books, they get you in the right zone. And I've read so many of these like over and over again. And I have way more. Like I have actually boxes of books, and I have books down here too. Some of my favorites. This is a book that Andrew sent me called Scaling Up. That's a great book. Love that book too. How a Few Companies Make It and Why the Rest Don't. I got a lot out of that one. Another book that I absolutely loved, Traction. And I heard a lot of entrepreneurs say that this book is a game-changing book. And I'd already started implementing a lot of these processes, but I think it's definitely a must-read if you want to scale your company. And then another book, which I've got so many recommendations for you today, but this one I have to include too, Unlimited Power. Tony Robbins. It's no secret I'm a Tony Robbins fan. I loved all of his events and his books. And yeah, that one's just another good reminder. But today, I'm focusing back on How Brands Grow. And my thing about reading isn't that you need to finish everything straight away. Just give yourself 10 minutes. Like, you know, the amount of time, you think of how many times you scroll, like we all scroll, okay, doom scrolling on TikTok, wherever, YouTube. But if we just gave ourselves just that extra bit of time to read just 10 minutes of an inspiring book or something that's going to get us excited, it'll help push us better towards our goals. So this is what I'm recommending today. I'll pop it in the show notes below, little comments below, and hope you all have a fabulous weekend, and I will see you next week for another episode of SynxBody Weekly.